Hey everyone, this is Sean Moran from the Saving Your Future podcast, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Chuck Jaffe. He is the host of a podcast called Money Life with Chuck Jaffe. Um, Hails originally from New Jersey, but is in Massachusetts now. And today we have a specific topic that Chuck and I are going to speak about, and it relates to Halloween. So perfect for this time of the year as we're recording this. And I will let Chuck introduce that particular topic, and we'll go from there.
Well, thanks for having me, Sean. I appreciate it. And basically, what I've done for the last couple of years is offer the kids in my neighborhood, and I live in a neighborhood where every street ends in a cul-de-sac. So it's a good neighborhood to be trick-or-treating in. And I started a couple years ago offering the kids in my neighborhood a choice of cash or candy. And then each year I've made it a little more complicated and try to get the kids thinking. And it takes a little more thought. It actually costs a little bit more money, although you make it back in lower candy costs. And it's been a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed it over the last couple of years.
Great. Well, so tell us a little bit about, I mean, I'm intrigued for sure. Tell me a little bit about how that goes. Like, is it just, I know when I was a kid, I'd go around the houses and you'd say money or candy. And I was always the one that says, give me the money. But, you know, how does it get complicated? And tell us a little bit about what that looks like.
Well, the first year that I did it, it was simply cash or candy. You had a choice. So if you were third grade and up, because I only do this for kids who are going to be old enough to sort of make a choice and start to have meaningful discussions about money. Third grade and up, you had a choice of 3 pieces of fun size candy or an envelope that had anywhere from a quarter to $5 in it. And the first year I did it, I made 50 envelopes. I had 56 kids come. 4 took candy. 2 would have taken envelopes, but were too late. I had run out. And 50 took cash. And it was straight up this or that. And 3 pieces of fun size candy. I figure a piece of fun size candy is 12.5 cents. So your value for coming to my house, putting on your costume and coming to my house is 37.5 cents. So that was the first year. Last year, you then had a choice. It was 3 pieces of fun size candy, or you could pick from an envelope where the envelopes all had a minimum of a quarter and a maximum of $4. Or you could let me pick 1 piece of candy out of your bag. You didn't get to dump the neighbor's lousy candy on me. I picked it. Had to be fun sized. I wasn't, if any of my neighbors are giving out full size bars, I'm not stealing those from the kids. But you didn't get to pick it. I got to pick it. And in exchange for giving me 1 more piece of candy, you got to pick from envelopes that had a minimum of 50 cents and a maximum of $5. And so if you think about the money choice, there's no question that last year you wanted to give me the candy. Now, I'll say that going into last year, my then 9-year-old neighbor said to me, Mr. Jaffe, there's no way you're getting any of my candy. And I sort of thought that's the way it would be for a lot of kids, that they might take the money, but they wouldn't give me candy. That's not how it worked out. Every kid, until I ran out of envelopes and I got more kids last year than I had the year before, gave me a piece of candy to play for the bigger money. And it was both the right choice, but I also think they're encouraged to do it to some extent because I'm the only one that's doing this in the neighborhood. So, you know, so now we get to this year. And this year, 3 pieces of candy, or you give me 1 piece of candy and you pick from an envelope that has a minimum of 50 cents and a maximum of $5, but you know that at least half of the envelopes have the minimum of 50 cents. Or you give me 3 pieces of candy and you get to pick from envelopes that have anywhere from $1 to $10, but half of the envelopes have nothing. So,
ooh, that's a good one.
It was really hard for me to say that somebody could go away with nothing, because like that kind of stinks. And I can't say for sure. It will literally come down to the time when I'm stuffing the envelopes if I hold true to like make that many empty. There have to be some empty so that kids can talk to each other about what they got. Now, they never open it in front of me. They put it in, and if you get an empty envelope, it will actually this year have a little write-up that I've done that lets you know what your choices were. Because this year, the best choice is not to go for the big money, right? Give me a piece of candy, you have 50 cents invested. The 37 and a half, that's your value for coming to my house. The one that you gave me, and the minimum you're going to get is 50 cents. And although your jackpot is not as big, your odds are better. You're certainly going to break even, and you're not going to go home with nothing. As opposed to you play for the big money, and you're really only going, your odds are still much more in your favor that you're going to make only a quarter, right? 3 pieces of candy from you, 3 from me, that's 75 cents. If you get either nothing or you get an envelope that has $1 in it, you only made a quarter or you lost 75 cents. That's what they call in Vegas house edge. And not that I want kids to necessarily understand gambling, but I do want them to understand how averse are you to loss. Like right now, we're dealing with the whole lottery thing where the lottery jackpot's gotten so huge. And, there's a famous story. Richard Thaler, the Nobel Prize winning economist, did a study where they went to stores that were selling lottery tickets. And they offered people, right, a lottery ticket's $2. They were offering people $4 to buy the lottery ticket that the person just had bought. That's an instant winner, 100% profit. And the majority of people were saying, no, I'm not going to give it to you because it might be the winner. Even though intuitively, how did we get to a jackpot with $1.6 billion? Well, a whole lot of people had losing lottery tickets. So I want to teach a little bit about all of this. And with the note that goes home, the kids can maybe have discussions with their parents.
That's great. So have you gotten any feedback from prior years, parents talking to you, kids come back? Maybe one's kind of on the older side now, understand it a little bit more.
Well,
like I'd ask that first. And
I have never known who won the jackpots. The jackpots have been picked because the biggest jackpots where I gave away every envelope that I made in those categories. So the jackpots got picked, and I don't know who's won them. I do know what a couple of my neighbors have done and how they've had discussions with their kids. And that's what I'm hoping to hear. There are things that you have to do, right? Kids will game any system that they can game. So you can't make it that if you're putting in a quarter that you make something that rustles or makes a lot of noise. So this year, for example, in the envelopes where 50 cents is the minimum, it'll be a 50-cent coin. So I'm getting $half coins. If you're winning $1, it'll be $1 coin. If you're winning more than $1, it'll be $1 coin and bills. And I use $2 bills. I make everything because I want each envelope. And I just try to tell the kids, if you touch it, take it. You don't get to feel them around. So what I have heard is kids on my block and the neighboring block, when they see me going, are you going to do this again? And it'll probably cost me more money because I think they're going to bring some more friends, but they've really liked it. And to me, I've also gotten to see some really interesting behaviors. I know one of my neighbors was talking about a decision that I thought was the best decision of last year. We had a group of 7 girls that came together. And the first 6 girls were like, oh, take candy, whatever you want. I'm only taking one. Take my one. They pick their envelope. They get to the 7th girl. Now, she has watched, I can't remember what the candy was, but we'll say that it was Snickers bars, right? Her favorite is Snickers bars. And she just watched me pull, probably because one of my neighbors was giving them out, 3 or 4 Snickers bars in a row. She watched me put them in the top of my candy dish. So when we get to her pick, she says, I'll take candy, and proceeds to pick 3 Snickers bars. And she says, Snickers are my favorite. Mom and Dad won't take them from me because they know they're my favorite. This is better. Like, this is perfect because she got the candy that she wanted because she was paying attention. That's also great use of your money. There's a great lesson there to sort of say, look, as much as we always want to save more, we're not saving more so that we can die with the most money. We're saving more so that we can make the choices we want to make and spend the way we want to spend. And for her, it was perfect. She got exactly what she wanted. Could not have been happier with how she went away from my house.
That's great. I mean, that's the idea, right? Is that each person gets the experience that they wanted. So I know you said that, I think if I'm not mistaken, you said there was a note in each one that explains a lesson. So what is that note, or what is the lesson that I'm sorry?
The note this year has to explain. I have to put something in the envelopes that have nothing. So I'm going to put something in all of the envelopes that say, here's the choice you made. Here's mathematically the best choice. And here's the choice where you were taking the biggest chance, but you also had the much more potential to lose money. And, sometimes, I mean, look, let's be perfectly honest. Kids should always take the money option because they know that their parents are going to steal some candy, or their brother or sister or whatever. They know that nobody's going to steal the money from them. And they also know that they're getting plenty of candy. I mean, every kid in my neighborhood, and it's not a big neighborhood, but my kids did it. They had more candy than they could eat themselves, no matter what they liked in terms of candy. So it makes sense for them to give it up. Now, there is a little bit in that of, have you ever heard the story of the two brothers and the nickel and the dime?
No, let's hear it.
Okay, so there's two brothers, and the big brother, he likes to make fun of and pick on his little brother. So he goes to his little brother and he puts a nickel and a dime, and he says, which one do you want? And Johnny, the little brother, takes the nickel because the nickel is bigger.
Yeah.
So the big brother goes, look at my brother Johnny. He's so dumb. He keeps taking the nickel because it's bigger. And he shows his friends, and he does it again. And Johnny always takes the nickel. And at one point, the mom sees this happening, and she watches as the big brother makes fun of Johnny for taking the nickel yet again. And afterwards, she goes to Johnny. She goes, Johnny, you know that a dime is worth more than a nickel. Why do you take a nickel every time? And Johnny says, well, Mom, the minute I pick the dime, he stops playing the game. Right?
That's great. That's genius.
There is a little bit of, hey, you should always take the money, or next year there might not be money. But I have a pumpkin that has a $sign on it, and the kids in the neighborhood now, after a couple of years, they're excited. They like direct other kids, make sure you go to that house. So it's good. It takes a little bit of thinking, but I don't have to buy much candy, and you can't really, from where you're sitting, see my stomach. But trust me, I do not need leftover candy. Okay.
Well, that's an outstanding story. And so I guess, did that come out of something from, a lesson that you learned growing up, or where did the idea come from?
Well, there was a national financial education group a couple of years ago that started doing a Cash for Candy campaign. They were really suggesting that you kind of want to try to teach money lessons by buying the candy back from your children. And that's okay, but your kids, that's a lesson that they may or may not want to get. And while you can do that, I kind of wanted to put it in a different setting. Like for me, my kids were already grown, and that wasn't going to work for me and my kids, who are very money savvy. They're in their 20s now. But I wanted to be able to do what I do, which is I write and talk about money all the time, and kind of bring that to other kids, because so many parents don't do it. Kids see parents get money out of an ATM machine. They never see how money gets into that machine. They only see that it's there when you want to pull it. And so we have to teach lessons about money being valuable, and how you decide that this is what I want to buy with it. And if I, waste it, it's gone. Right? You'd like a kid who gets nothing to maybe come back and go, wow, if I'd made a different choice, I would have at least gotten 50 cents. And I might have gotten a jackpot. And no, it wouldn't have been, think about it as, again, that lottery example. It wouldn't be the Mega Millions jackpot, but it would be better than nothing. And you want kids to start to understand that because they can understand at a very early age. So it's really about that. And let's be perfectly honest. I'm a syndicated columnist. This gives me something fun to write about. That's part of the reason why I tweak it every year. And once I started doing it, everybody's very interested in how it turns out. And I wish, like for me, what would be really cool is if my neighbors did what I did last year. And then like 2 neighbors down was doing what I did the year before. Because I think if more people did this in a neighborhood, then you'd have kids who were also making completely honest money decisions where they go, no, I really came for candy. When you're the one guy who they can get money from, it pays them to take the money. When
Absolutely.
They could come home with less candy than they expected, then maybe not. And I'd love to see what would happen if you said, okay, here's the choice at Chuck's house, and here's the choice at Sean's house, and here's the choice at Joe's house. And each one is a little bit different. And you kind of compare notes and go, did they make the good choices or the bad choices? But you can only do it one thing at a time. I expect it'll be 70 or 80 kids this year.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks so much for doing something like that, because that's really, really cool. And I think, that's something for me. I remember stories like when I had the one house where I went to where it was candy or money. It'll always stay with you. So I think that's something you're actually building a legacy in the kids. So thanks so much for doing that. So what I'm going to do also is in the show notes, I'll put information on, if you and I will talk later, what's appropriate to share and how people can get in touch with you if they want to, see your column and, any other ways that they can connect with you that might make sense if they see a potential collaboration.
Not beyond that, for any of your audience members who want to know, I have written columns about it. So separate from anything I do, separate from learning about my show or finding out any of that stuff. If you want to see what I've done, if you go, I want to explain this or I want to try this, I have written columns about what I've done each year. I wrote one a few weeks ago on what was going to happen this year, and I'll be happy to send those to you. And it's just Chuck at moneylifeshow.com. So Money Life is the name of my show, moneylifeshow.com. Chuck at moneylifeshow.com would be an email that you can reach me. If you say, send me, trick or treat, cash or candy, I can send you the columns that I've written. And that way, if you want to do this, you can decide if you want to do year 1, year 2, year 3, what you want to do.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time tonight, Chuck. I greatly appreciate it. And I'm sure our audience will as well. So we'd love to hear back from you after this year and kind of, hear how it all worked out.
I will have the results. So if you want to talk to me in a week or so and discuss how it goes, we can do it.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much, and you have a great evening. We'll talk to you soon.
Happy Halloween, Sean.
Happy Halloween.